Hi, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today. I'm very excited to dive into our topic of creating processes and workflows to onboard new clients. My name is Danielle Palmer, and I'm the Integrator at Fusion CPA. I'm a Georgia State University alumni where I received my bachelor's degree in managerial science with a concentration in human resources. I'm a dedicated young professional who thrives in environments built on accountability. And throughout my career, I have taken on responsibilities that have allowed me to hone in on my innate skills, including public speaking, critical and objective thinking, and process improvement. My passion is strengthening and developing growth-oriented leadership teams so that they can efficiently achieve their organizational goals. So creating and maintaining processes is one of my favorite things to counsel business owners on, as it is a tangible step in creating a culture of accountability. So today, our presentation is broken down into two parts. Part one is why have processes. And within part one, we're going to dive in on why process creation is important, what makes a process effective and efficient, why technology should play a role in creating efficient processes, and what organizational areas need to be systematized. Then part two, we're going to dive into the steps of process creation and then also how to fine-tune your process when applicable. So process creation is a very polarizing topic. Some people love processes and some people hate them. And generally, it's hard to find people that fit in the middle. Process creation is actually one of the most undervalued components of operating a business. The process of creating efficient processes normally gets a bad rap. And oftentimes, entrepreneurs and organizational leaders believe that creating processes can be a very daunting task and really not the best use of their time. So the consensus is usually that you spend hours on end creating a process that either does not work, or if it works, no one actually follows it. So today, I encourage you to discard any preconceived notions that you have about process creation and reimagine processes. So essentially, adjusting your stance to see essentially what processes can do for you, rather than how much time it takes to create and maintain your processes. Because by neglecting the importance of processes within your organization, you're inevitably going to identify areas within your firm where you're wasting valuable resources like time and money. And with the increased economic uncertainty of 2020, entrepreneurs simply just don't have the time or bandwidth to waste any resources. So even though creating processes may feel extremely taxing, the interesting thing is that you create and utilize processes throughout your daily life. For example, we all have some form of morning routine that we follow. Your morning routine may include eating breakfast, working out, getting some personal time to read or meditate. So even though we all may have different components that make up our unique morning routines, we all have some sort of morning routine that we utilize to create a sense of accomplishment and also consistency. So let's take a minute and think about your morning routine. And now let's think about a time where you were not able to fully complete your morning routine due to various reasons. It could be your kids are pushing you behind, maybe you overslept, maybe your breakfast didn't come out as well as you'd like it to. But when this occurs, you're more likely to find that you have a hard time getting back into the swing of things to navigate your day. So you can see that your morning routine is not just a list of things that you do in the morning. It is the first process of your day, and it increases your consistency throughout your daily routine. So let's dive into what makes a process effective and efficient. So an effective process allows you to consistently achieve your desired outcomes or group of outcomes. And an efficient process enables you to achieve these outcomes without wasting time, money, resources, and energy. So one of my favorite acronyms to use when discussing how to create processes is KISS. Keep it simple. So this is all around just simplifying processes. So no one wants to read a 3+ page process that they have to follow and memorize. It would just take too much time for you to create that and also for your team to try to memorize and efficiently follow the intricate process. So a great rule of thumb to avoid this is creating a process that when you document it, it's no longer than 1.5 pages long. This is going to avoid creating confusion and frustration for your team. Now let's take a look at 2 of our new client onboarding processes. first new client onboarding process that I'm going to pull up is our tax-only onboarding process. So while it's loading on the screen, the first thing I want you to identify here is that we're utilizing colors within our onboarding process. So first thing is our process is always going to be documented into a checklist format, and I will talk more in the presentation about why that is. But outside of that, let's talk about utilizing colors. So I always love utilizing colors when I'm creating any onboarding or process checklist because it really helps identify responsible parties and workflows. So under each individual component of the process, you'll see I utilize a color to highlight what the best step in the process is, but also who is responsible for the step. So as that person receives the handoff, what they're doing is they're going to go down and check off each step as they complete it. So as you see, this onboarding process is not a page, not even a full page. I would say it's about 75% of one page, but it covers all the steps for our tax-only clients. Now I want to identify to you our bookkeeping and tax clients. So the first thing I want to talk through is look at the length of this onboarding process. It is about a page and a half. And again, same structure of utilizing colors and also a checklist format. So one thing I want to identify throughout this onboarding checklist is that we utilize a lot of technology in our firm. And so that's one thing we're going to dive into a little bit later in the presentation. But as you can see, when you zoom into the underlined areas, typically, like, for example, let's look at Adobe as one of the softwares that we use, as well as we utilize a few different softwares as well as you're scrolling through. But you'll see that the reason why we include the technology is because that's a part of the process. So you want to make sure when you're creating a process that you're thinking through what are the, who are the responsible parties, and then what technology is also included, because these are going to be steps within your process or involved within the steps within your process. Another thing I really, really want to highlight within this onboarding process is this area here. So earlier I mentioned that it's really best practice to keep your onboarding process or any process that you're creating within about a page and a half. You never want it to be longer than that. Now, here is where I'm going to talk about where you could go longer than a page and a half. Not every client onboarding is going to be exactly the same. So there's going to be tiny little intricacies within your process that may apply to a few clients. Those are like our outliers. So you definitely want to notate this if it's something that comes up frequently, and if it's something that if it's not notated and handled correctly will cause a lot of issues for the client. So I like to utilize a little asterisk and just make a notation, so that way it's something for the team to consider. So this is going to be key, right? And you probably might not really figure out where this might be key until I identify this. Let's say the person that traditionally does your onboarding process is out, or you have a new hire that's coming on, right? You want to make sure that the little intricacies are notated like I've done in our process, because this is key for any new employee to be able to alert them and say, oh, wow, I have a question I need to ask some of my more senior team members, or it'll help them with the question that may have come up later on in the process as they're flowing through. So please just remember that if your process has to be longer than a page and a half, it's fine if it's due to notations that are imperative to make sure that you're streamlining the onboarding process for your clients. So I wanted to identify these onboarding checklists and bring up some key notations within the checklist, so that way once you start diving into how to actually create your process, that these are key things that you keep in your mind. So let's dive back in, because I want to talk through why we have more than one new client onboarding checklist. So we actually, because we offer a few different services, that's why we have few different new onboarding checklists. And this is because we have intricacies that may be involved in one onboarding that may not be involved in another. So you want to make sure that you maintain consistency and control over every new client onboarding. So you want to make sure that if there are different service offerings that you offer or products that you are positioning for your clients, that if you're onboarding a new client, that you just make sure that you utilize the correct onboarding process for that client. So I highlighted a little bit earlier is that our processes are literally documented in a checklist format. And I did this intentionally because studies have uncovered that people perform at a higher rate when they have tangible evidence that they're making progress towards the completion of their task. So this is due to the brain recognizing tasks or a completed task or completed project and then releasing a ton of dopamine, which is a neurotransmitter that is responsible for creating feelings of accomplishment and satisfaction within your body. So if we take a minute and try to visualize how this can actually be correct, I'm pretty sure a lot of us utilize a daily to-do list. It's one of my favorite things to have behind me is my to-do list. Because when you're actually going through your to-do list, when you cross something off of that list as completed, just the satisfaction that you get from crossing that off makes you feel like you're ready to take on the world. So sometimes people even put creating a to-do list as the first thing on their to-do list just so they can have something to cross off. That same concept extends to your onboarding process. You want your team to be excited about doing your process. You want them to be like, oh, I completed something. I'm good to go. I have really satisfied my clients and I've also successfully completed my job. So utilizing a checklist format will literally allow someone to physically see their progression in the process and where they have completed their task. Also, we want to make sure that we're maintaining controls as the entrepreneur that owns the organization or your leadership team that's managing your organization for you. So one of the worst things you could ever have happen is you don't know where your client is in your onboarding process. You don't want to not be able to figure out who do I go talk to about where this client is? Am I upcoming any roadblocks that I need to kind of warn this person about, the client just notated us about? So you want to make sure that you're efficiently able to identify where your client is in your process and who is responsible for that piece of the process. And that is why making sure that you're notating the handoff within the process is very, very important, because as the owner of an organization, not having that control is what keeps you up at night. However, you cannot be the one doing every little step in your onboarding process. So this allows you to keep that control, to be able to at a glance figure out what's going on with your new clients, but also being able to understand that you can have the people that get the job, want the job, and have the capacity to do the onboarding job in the seats that they need to be in. So let's talk about why technology should play a role in your process creation. So as an entrepreneur or an organizational leader, you want your business to be as successful as possible. So you understand the importance of gaining and retaining clients. So traditionally, most entrepreneurs are wearing multiple hats in the beginning stages of their business, primarily due to not having the capital to fill all the seats needed in the beginning. So this may work fine at first for a few weeks or even a few months. However, inevitably, you're going to become overwhelmed with the juggling act. And this is when things start to fall through the cracks. And the last thing you need is to have internal issues spilling out and become client-facing. So this can occur relatively easy when it comes to your onboarding process or lack thereof. So we have all heard the phrase, you only get one chance to make a first impression. And this is absolutely true, especially when it comes down to your onboarding process with your clients. A client's first impression about your organization has a long-lasting impact with them. Actually, one of the most common things that our new clients say to us during the onboarding and discovery process is that they started having doubts about their prior accountants during the onboarding process. You know, they notated things like mistakes being made, lack of communication, lack of process transparency. And this is when they really started to lose faith in their accountant. They didn't immediately disengage, but they started to make mental notations that they might have made a mistake. So, you know, you may look at that and seem like, oh, that's a lot. That seems like a bit extra. But from the client standpoint, you really want to put yourself in their shoes and understand, like, they're already on edge, you know? Either they've had a negative experience in the past, so they're bracing themselves for that negativity, or they never had a prior accountant. And this is the first time that they're hiring an accountant. So this is new territory for them. So either way, this is uncomfortable, right? And so you want to make sure that your onboarding process is as efficient and streamlined as possible to make sure that your clients are comfortable. So one of the best ways to do this without breaking the bank is leveraging technology whenever and wherever you can in your organization, but especially within your processes. So now I want to highlight 3 key softwares that you can utilize to make your onboarding process more efficient. So the first software is CRM, a customer relationship management software. So this software is a software that integrates directly with your email system. We use Gmail. And so this seamlessly can add notes that your sales and marketing team acquires as they're going through their marketing and sales process with your client, your new client, who is essentially a lead for them. So they'll be able to add in a lot of these notes to your CRM system, which should ultimately end up in your client's file. Because the goal here is this helps you really learn more about the client. So your sales team, they're going to get a lot of insight from the client, right? So their pain points that they've experienced. So issues with prior accountants in the past, if that's their boat that they're in, if they've never hired an accountant before, just pain points that they're experiencing and issues that they may have caused themselves or just encountered in their journey leading up to getting connected with you. So a lot of this information isn't just jibber jabber. It's really important because it helps you understand your client more and really connect with them. So when you're talking to them, you're highlighting how your firm is the solution to a lot of the pain points they've been experiencing. So having a CRM system will not only help your sales team connect with clients, but your operations team as well. As they're working through their workflows, they really understand the client, know how to communicate with the client, the things to avoid, and also what the client is looking for as well. So I really recommend you getting some form of CRM system. Like I mentioned, we utilize Streak because it's extremely user-friendly and very affordable, but identify a CRM system that you and your team love, and it's also affordable for your firm. So the next software I want to highlight is the digital document signature app. So we love Adobe, and this is a critical software for us because this software allows us to send and receive confidential documents, proposals, engagement letters, client information from our clients. This streamlines that process because oftentimes if you don't have a digital document submission application that you utilize, clients rely on just showing up at your office or scheduling calls. And with everything that we learned this year especially, that may not be an option, right? So you may not be able to connect with your clients face to face. However, the work still needs to move on. Your company still needs to operate. So utilizing a digital document application that can collect signatures from your clients and also retrieve documents from your clients and remind them about things is really not just going to help your firm, but also it shows your clients that you're on top of things, right? So let's say you sent to your client an engagement letter, a client's item needed list, you're just waiting for them to just sign off or just send you back that document. You can actually utilize the software to send them reminders. So pre-schedule how often you want your clients to receive the reminders and then just put it into the system. And once they actually complete the task, the reminders automatically disconnect. And so this allows your team to not have to follow up and get on that rabbit wheel of chasing clients for documents and pulling and pushing. It really helps you streamline this process. So the third software I love highlighting and we love using is a practice management software. So our firm utilizes Carbon HQ. This was specifically designed for accounting firms, and it also integrates with a few other applications that we use. So this is the software that your team will be utilizing to manage the workflow of your clients. So as they're leaving the sales funnel and entering into your operations after they've engaged with you, you want to make sure that that is also systematized. So you know where your clients are in the workflow process, and it's much better to utilize technology than having to call someone up or sending them an email to remind them to do tasks. It's just not efficient, and things can be forgotten as well. Every firm has their own workflows, and how they want to utilize their workflows is really up to them, and that should be based off of client satisfaction. So your workflows for your organization will be unique, but the ultimate goal for your workflows is client satisfaction and efficiency. So utilizing a software to help you manage and create these workflows, and also as an organizational leader, we mentioned we want to make sure we continue to maintain control and consistency. Well, how you maintain control when you're not the one doing the task? utilizing technology. So all of your technology should be cloud-based or web-based, so that way, no matter where you or the team are in the world, everyone can log into your technology and utilize it efficiently. And so this will also give you peace of mind. So whenever you want to know where said client is in your team's workflows or where they are in your onboarding process, hopping into the system, opening up your technology and seeing at a glance, that would really help you rather than having to chase down 3 or 4 people just to figure out where your client is in the process and to ultimately learn that someone forgot to do something, so the client's waiting on documents or waiting for a response. So I really, really stress utilizing technology. I know technology can seem really scary at first, and with every new technology that you actually add onto your firm, there's going to be a learning curve. You're going to have to learn how to utilize that technology. But the rule of thumb with technology is it solving an innate issue within my business? And specifically for onboarding, all of the technology that I've identified today solved issues for us and allowed us to really create more control and consistency. So I want to dive in now to the areas within the organization that you need to systematize. So on average, organizations utilize about 5 to 6 core processes to efficiently operate their business. So let's break them down. So you have your marketing, right? So that's identifying target prospects and priming them for your sales team. Then you dive into your sales process. So that's all about turning your prospects into clients. So then you're looking at operations. So this is all about providing the service or product to your customers, and there's typically a few different processes involved in operations, right? Because operations includes project management, customer service, quality control, just to name a few. They want to highlight your customer retention. That's all about the relationship you have with your customers after you've provided the service or product. So your goal here is to have the clients come back to you for more services and referrals for your business. Now I want to highlight the last process, which is human resources. This is all about your employees, right? So recruiting, hiring, and managing your team. So let's break down why it's important to systematize these areas within your firm and really how it all connects to your onboarding process. So sales and marketing, right? When you're looking at that area, it's all about bringing you new clients. So bringing in lead prospects that are your target market. So these are prospects that align with your firm's vision and mission, and they're the clients that you enjoy servicing. So you're bringing in these clients. Now your operations team is piggybacking off of your sales and marketing team, and they're doing that onboarding process. They're starting that onboarding process with the client. So they're including a lot of the project management, the customer service piece, and also quality control. So as you see, your onboarding process is not just operation. It really piggybacks off of marketing and sales and flows through operations. And it really is a key indicator also for your client retention process. So the last thing you want is for your sales and marketing team to be rock stars, kicking it, really making sure they're hitting their goals. They're bringing in all these new clients. However, you're not really seeing your numbers on the back end change because as quickly as you're bringing in clients, you're losing those clients. You never want to be feeling like you're swapping out clients because that's going to burn out your operations team. It's going to burn out your sales and marketing team, and it's going to cause you to be very frustrated. So you really want to understand how processes and creating processes really keep these key things of bringing in new clients, making sure you're servicing them efficiently, and then ultimately retaining them and gaining more business from your clients. So I want to talk about the HR process because that is also a part of this, because who is doing all of the tasks within your firm, within sales, marketing, operations, and customer retention? It's your team. So within your HR process, you need to make sure you're bringing on the best team. So there is a process around recruiting, hiring, and managing your team that you need to make sure that you have within your firm, because what you don't want to have happen as well is that not only your team is not being efficient, your processes aren't there, but you're bringing on the wrong team members. So these are team members who don't want to follow the processes that you've for the firm that you built. You know, this is your baby. So you need to make sure that every person that you're bringing on is aligned with your vision and your mission. So there is a process that needs to go with HR as well. So these aren't the only areas within your firm that you're ever going to systematize. And really, a lot of firms systematize a lot more areas than this. So a rule of thumb that I like to highlight is to create and document your processes for all the activity going on within your organization. So as you see, those 5 components really cover a lot of the major areas within a lot of small to mid-sized businesses have. But as your business evolves, you're going to need to create more processes. But as we're going to dive into the process creation steps in a little bit, I'm going to help you make process creation seamless and stressless, which may not seem like those two things could work together when we're talking about process creation, but it really is. So now let's dive into the process creation step. So the first step is going to be a brainstorm, brain dump session. So essentially, before you create any process, you always want to start with a brainstorm. So I traditionally love utilizing like Google Sheets because it helps me put everything into a system in my face rather than writing stuff down. So what I'm doing my brain dump, what I'm trying to identify is what is the purpose of my process? So why am I even creating a process around this? What were the issues that caused me to create this process? Or what's working right? And I just realized there's some aspects need to be systematized. So it's all about why are we doing this is the first thing to think through. Then once we think through like why are we doing this, is what has been working for us, if anything at all, which usually is a few key things. So this time you really want to just take the minute to think of what's working and then also identify what's not working. And also, what are the traditional steps involved in the process you had before? So key people and also their key responsibilities. Now you want to start thinking through the steps that you want to add to your process. So maybe as you're looking at everything, you're realizing there are glaring steps missing. Jot those down in the order that you want them to flow. And then once you're done with that, start removing steps that are no longer needed. So if there are any redundant steps in the process or everything that you've jotted down, just remove the things that are no longer needed. Now, once you have identified why you're creating the process, what has been working, what has not been working, what is traditionally involved, the steps you want to add, and also the steps you want to take out, now it's time to actually create your process. So like I mentioned before, and I highlighted when I showed you 2 of our processes, this is going to be a checklist, a literal checklist. So you want to start putting down in the order of completion all of the steps of your process into a checklist format. Now, you're not done there because at this point, you want to simplify your process. So this is traditionally where you take your process from the 3 pages it probably initially was to 1.5 pages or less. So what I like to do between the step of creating the process and simplifying the process is creating lag time. So I like to do at least 2 to 24 hours between these 2 steps. And the reason I do that is because it creates additional time for me to think things through. So when I come back to my process with fresh eyes, oftentimes I see, I'm like, oh, what was I thinking there? I wasn't quite thinking through all of the steps, or I may have missed a step, or maybe I even repeated myself that I wasn't really identifying before. So I always create lag time, and then I spend time simplifying my process. So are there any aspects of the process, like technique and technology, that I can use now to reduce the steps or to reduce the intricacies involved? So really the simplifying time, you may not even have to make any changes. A lot of times with the process that I create, I realize I don't have to make a lot of major changes, but this time really allows me to do another brainstorm session and really analyze the process so far. Now, once you've done your simplifying process, the next thing you'll be doing is testing. This step is very important to the efficiency of your process. So, and it must be done before you roll it out to the team. Now, every time I create a new process, I always do a preliminary test to see if I forgot to notate key steps. So sometimes because I've done the process in the past myself, I have a few steps that are just in the old noggin, and it's relatively easy for me to just forget to include them because they're second nature, right? So because you want to make sure that this process is not just for you. This process is important that it's followed by your entire team. So you want to make sure during testing time that the little tiny steps that you included, that you did not include, that are very important to this process are in there. Also, removing any steps as you're testing you realize aren't that important. This is key for buy-in for your team. Now, the final phase is the rollout. It's very imperative that you educate your team on the new process to ensure that it's followed by all of them, and also that your documented process is housed in the same location as all other processes. So now that you've rolled out your process, it's time to visualize how to fine-tune these processes. So now that you have your process in place and you've communicated this with your team, it's easy to believe that we're done and we never have to revisit our onboarding process again. However, this is not the best way to validate your process, because as your business evolves, so will your processes. So I recommend that you do a high-level review and analysis of your processes with your leadership team at least twice a year. This review time will allow you to update your processes to be more effective and efficient on a consistent basis. So for example, within the past 6 months, you may have either acquired new technology, new team members, since the last time you reviewed your process. So if you're not routinely reviewing your process, you could be leaving resources on the table that could tremendously streamline your processes. Or you may now have steps within your processes that are redundant and need to be removed simply by this new technology and team members. So definitely recommend that this is key, that you review your processes at least twice a year. Personally, it's a great thing to do every quarter as you're doing your quarterly reviews to just see how you can fine tune the processes that's keeping your organization engine running. So today, I want to dive into the offer that we have for you today. This is actually very near and dear to our heart as a Fusion CPA, our firm. Our actual firm was created in 2011 by our CEO, Trevor McCandless, and he formed our firm because he identified that small to mid-sized businesses tend to lack efficient financial systems to support their scaling goals. Now, this is a result of entrepreneurs not having the accurate financial metrics and guidance when it's time for them to make their high-level business decisions. So this often leads to entrepreneurs and firm leaders losing time, money, and opportunities as well. So the COVID-19 pandemic and everything else surrounding this year has really highlighted just the tremendous economic uncertainty that everyone is in, and it's really exasperated the stress of those who are really one emergency away from financial calamity. So we know that now more than ever, small businesses, especially minority-owned businesses, have limited financial resources and urgently need the guidance and advice from an experienced accountant. So we have designed this new service offering to remedy this issue. For $95 a month, you'll be able to receive a 30-minute conversation with a CPA to discuss whatever business issues you're facing. So you could be stuck in a few different things about hiring new team members, about buying new equipment, about even creating your processes, and also putting up key performance indicators to manage whether your team is fulfilling and meeting the goals put in place for them. So all of these things that come about randomly throughout the month, oftentimes business owners just don't really have the guidance they need, so they make a decision and pray it's the right one. We don't want that to continue. We want to remedy the situation to really be there for you and provide guidance when you're stuck in a pickle, or just having that routine conversation to talk about high-level matters on a monthly basis. We really believe this will tremendously help everyone. So definitely please take advantage of this service offering. If it's something you're realizing that you don't have an accountant on your team to help you with really strategic level decisions for your managing your firm on an operations side, sales and marketing side, process creation and maintenance side as well, really all the matters of operating your organization, our firm actually is utilize the traction methodology. So this is a methodology based on the book Traction by Gino Wickman. And so this actually speaks a lot to why process creation and maintenance is so important to us, because there are 6 actual components of the traction methodology that we utilize to keep our firm engine running. So always feel free to reach out to us, because we don't just do accounting and tax planning, but we're really lean into that business advisory piece, because we want to make sure that we're helping you and we are a part of your firm when you need us. So I would love to connect with everyone here, and all my contact information is on the screen. Feel free to email me, shoot me a tweet, connect with me on LinkedIn, or if you want to browse our website is www.fusiontaxes.com. Thank you so much for your time.